History and change are founded on small actions that gain strength and force with the passing of their own movement. Thank you all for coming. Thank you so much. Okay, so as you know, I speak Spanish, and just in order to make everything I have in my mind understandable for you, I decided to write this first in Spanish, then make the translation, then get the translation approved and corrected. So that's why I'm going to read. It's not that I have no memory, it's just that I want you to understand what I try to say. This is the web page of the project I come representing. I guess I'm going upper, right? But I hope you can just take a look and see if there's any way you can support or find anyone to support. At the beginning of this talk writing, I was trying to be quite straight and clear, but then many ideas came, so I just ask you for your patience. When we think of a particular situation, the past is often our first reference. I think everyone of you and other places at some point has imagined a man from another time in history, how their day-by-day diet and entertainment were, what their beliefs, values, fears, desires, ideas, passions, and problems also were. Among the answers, we can find that despite their limitations, man's relationship with nature and the cosmos was mediated by a respect, perhaps a little fearful but steadily reverential respect. With the development of scientific language and technological action, that fear has mutated, in some cases with terrible consequences. Our present experiences a discomfort of which much has been said. By simply browsing the news every day, we can notice the symptoms that there are things that are going wrong. Given this global present, the large groups, individuals, and the environment, we can only pray for a healing of such magnitude that moves us towards a future of greater splendor. The time to stop astonishing or horrifying by the actions of mankind has not arrived yet. And so I dare to say that everything has been not said or done. We could grope, but that will only intensify the large gap which widens between generations that have grown inside and outside the world of screens, between industrialized and indigenous or tribal societies, between the South and the North. I would like to clarify technology or economy can be really positive things and tools in improving life conditions, but the critical absence in the distribution of its use is somehow making isolation and individualism becoming conventional. We imagine a man of the past as one who did not record and write in their culture, living without internet, without water taps, no medicine, no fast food, no diplomas, no Maseratis or PlayStation or trips to Hawaii, unless they live in Hawaii. Yeah, of course. If that is our image of the man of the past, then we have to accept that on this earth, right now, past and present coexist simultaneously. Because in all regions of the planet, there are cultural groups which resist and preserve ancient cultures far removed from our perspective. Apparently, our worlds are separated and our beliefs are almost irreconcilable. We have led this situation to a progressive state of extinction, with or without our will. The destruction of our natural environment is added to the destruction of the symbolic environment. What is at stake? The quality of life of men, women, and children, and the quality of their death, too. And there is more, a radically essential gem. Tomáš Masaryk, founder of Czechoslovakia, One said, as many languages you know, as many times you are a human being. Viewing humanity as a single organism may be a metaphor to inspire us to take each other as a whole, as a complementary to our existence. For sure, somebody will have to be the appendix, and I assure you none of us will be that part. This organism cannot be hurt in a single part without being hurt in the whole. There is no way to isolate any of the damages. When I imagine a human brain, I think of it as an aurora borealis, or a light storm, or entire galaxies twinkling in the dark. Every second, different areas lighten while others are off, and vice versa. All in an endless cycle. In this sense, the extinction of ancestral cultures, with our consent, will be as serious as the death of an entire neuronal sector. A function of the species will be irreparably stunned, since these cultures suffer as the legacy of a spirit that is gone. And I say spirit not in the sense of a nostalgic idealism. I am referring to the nature of existence at a point of time. Today, I have the honor of coming on behalf of an indigenous community in San José del Bajío, Jalisco, Mexico. They belong to the ancestral culture Wixárika, with a calculated existence of 2,000 years. They are currently one of the most important living concerning that remains of Mesoamerican cultures, and have been so reserved that we know very little, very little about them. Despite its longevity, they had not been extensively studied because until a few years ago, trying to get deep into their territory would pose a danger of death. Such is the case of US journalist Philip True, who shared the same purpose as other outsiders, even Mexicans, because I'm a foreigner for them, as you are, even when they and I, we are both Mexicans. Well, many Mexicans died trying to record or alter their lifestyle. That's why they survive with their whole culture, because they defended their culture by killing. I would like to recognize the work of Fernando Benitez, an anthropologist and historian whose work on the Wixárika culture has been fundamental in order to interpret them properly and understand their culture. I extract some of the songs for this work, from his work, En la tierra mágica del peyote, that means something like in the sacred land of peyote. And he copies a fragment of this song that the Wixáritari, these people, sing to the peyote, and explains in a simple manner why it represents an encompassing encounter. Out came the sea, and behind it came all the gods. The gods passed by like flowers. In flower figures, they came behind the sea and came to the placenta, to the place of the placenta, from which they had been born. From the placenta came the cloud, and from the cloud the temple, and from the temple the deer was born. That became corn, that became a cloud, and it rained over the corn fields. Before collecting their crops and going to the desert in search of the peyote, they perform the hunting of the deer, which is very strict and regulated, where killing is limited. The land on which the deer spills its blood is considered sacred and is an omen of fertility. When the deer falls, the shaman opens its heart with a knife, takes its blood for offerings. All this arises from an ancient tale. The blood of the first deer made the birth of the sacred corn possible. The moment in which they offer the deer's blood to the gods, they chant, "For you, elder brother, for you who cried in your deer form the moment we discovered you, forgive us, like the gods say, if there is to be life for all, a deer must die." After the hunting of the deer, the gatherers go in search of the peyote, and where they find the first one, they erect an altar with traditional offerings. They unearth the peyote and stab it several times with an arrow. The first one they find, they cross the arrows into it. Over this earth they sprinkle water, their blood, and a drink made of fermented corn. The gatherers chew slices of that first peyote with their eyes closed and spread the saliva with the peyote's juice over their abdomens. When this ceremony is over, they disperse in order to find more peyote for the ceremony of the whole community. When gatherers, hunters, and the rest of the pilgrims are together, they light fires and the shaman tells stories of the regenerative time. In this magnus celebration, the Wixárika becomes one heart. Every individual I dissolves itself and communes with everyone. They profess they are in presence of the gods and listen to the fire, stones, water, trees, and their language. Once back in their communities, the peyoteros and shamans share their peyote with the people who weren't able to make the pilgrimage, so that they may also become purified and participate in the collective visions. This is how they close the celebration time and go on with the harvest of crops. We can imagine how this ritual scared the Catholic conquerors. While the Wixárika communed with their gods, the conquistadors thought it was the devil with whom they were communicated. Not only in Wirikuta, but also in other regions of the southeast of Mexico, where the use of hallucinogenic mushrooms was connected with rituals as well. For the poet Henri Michaud, peyote unites in its action the components of religious emotion, the profound impression of being mysteriously connected to everything, the profound experience of the beyond, of never, the deep impression of living in an extracorporeal life and out of time, of participating in absolute, in the perfect. He must not be that far off. Something of this nature must exist in the 2,000 years of hermetic and continuous pilgrimage. The patience of their devotion is truly surprising. They devote themselves over and over and over again with absolute seriousness to reconstruct the making of their gods performed in times of creation, not to go back. It's not about being nostalgic, but to be reborn eternally. After hunting the deer, eating the peyote, and harvesting the crops, they give way to the last form of the collective dreams, and it's the nyerika. The pieces you see here are the nyerika, the Wixárika sacred art. The artists communicate their ceremonial visions in their pieces. The complexity and visual richness of each piece is unique. They do not sing their art because they consider it a collective form of art, not an individual one. The character of the Wixárika is solemn and playful. A common practice amongst them is to rename objects, natural elements, and themselves. Once they have changed the names, they insert themselves in this new reality and choose someone to penalize the one who cannot remember the names. The purpose is to love, tease, and relax. Fernandez writes that in his trip to Wirikuta, they will kill travel sacks. Sandals, bicycles, rocks, frogs, trees, fish, sheep, deer. These elements allow us to gain an initial insight into the Wixárika culture. They have been forced out of their sacred territory with the threat of losing it. The First Majestic Silver Corporation is one of the mining companies from Canada that is looking to buy with the other 60% of their sacred land. This will mean depriving them of their most important sacred lands, the extinction of the peyote, contamination to the few water systems that exist in the desert, and murder their culture. The Mexican government had initially given the territory in concession of the mining company, but thanks to the impact that civil organizations, press, and public service have had, there had been a halt to this distrustful and terrible plan. Mining isn't the only threat to the Wixárika. Malnutrition, lack of medicine, the high mortality rate of children, seniors, and pregnant women, and the ailments that come with poverty endanger this culture. In the case of San Jose del Bajío, there is an 8-month-long during drought each year. For this reason, Wixárika Mundus, that is this campaign you accepted and invited this day to be here, goal is to bring sustainable and ecological water filtering systems that will diminish the impact that the drought has on this community. This is the reason why we look for help from artists, entrepreneurs, designers, and people with a wish to help out. Some weeks ago, someone asked to me if contemporary artists in their majority just wanted to tease us, along with curators, critics, and collectors. Why are millions of dollars spent each year to fill a blank wall deprived of social spirit when there are millions of people suffering of some sort of abuse? Maybe we live to reach these brief but profound instances of communion, in which apparently the other, through what we can express, understands us. When I walk through the streets of whichever city and I'm feeling optimistic, I see in each person a potential artist, a potential healer. I would like if they view themselves that way, because art is an activity that helps us take our commonness to a more reflexive and conciliatory dimension. Education is an elemental force of transformation, and given that many people have not been privileged with the access to it for multiple reasons and conditions, we, the ones who had this privilege, can make a change for everyone. When education simultaneously embraces, in a way of personal discovery and social recognition, affirmation in politics and art, there will be many more fortunate to be able to drink of its libertarian water. Nonconformist knowledge extends itself. One candle lights another, and the impact can be enormous. We have thought erroneously that small actions do not alter the flow of reality, and that is a big, big lie. History and change are founded on small actions that gain strength and force with the passing of their own movement. A person that changes their decisions is a transformed reality, and that weighs onwards. That is the healing power of art, something mystical but tangent that repairs the negative effects of oppression, solitude, and weariness, that sublime thing that makes us remember that we are all one, diverse but not different, always dynamic. To make of the present a conscious and inclusive organism a work of art, that is our duty. Thank you, Lick, and thank you all for this wonderful opportunity. And the world is for those who come together.